Let's talk about a weird paradox, something you've probably felt. We have more freedom and more choices than any other generation in history. So why do we feel more anxious than ever? Today, we're going to get into exactly why that is and what it really takes to feel grounded again. I mean, just think about it for a second. Right now, at your fingertips, you have more choices for who to be, where to go, what to do, more freedom to break away from tradition, to invent your own life from scratch, to live wherever you want and love whoever you want. More access to pretty much all of human knowledge, to people on the other side of the planet, to opportunities our grandparents would have thought were science fiction. And, of course, more convenience. Everything is faster, easier, just a click away. On paper, our lives should feel like a total dream. But they don't, do they? With all this amazing progress, all this unlimited choice, why is there this constant low-level hum of anxiety in the background? Why does it feel like you're trying to stand on shifting sand? Well, the sociologist Zygmunt Bauman actually gave this feeling a name: liquid modernity. It's the idea that we're living in a world where all the things that used to be solid, like your job, your community, even your own identity, have all kind of melted. They've become fluid, temporary, and always seem to be dissolving. So here's the most important thing to get right off the bat. If this feels familiar, it is not a personal failure. It's not just you. This anxiety is practically a feature of the world we've built. It's structural. And just knowing that, that's the first real step to finding some solid ground. So where does this anxiety come from? Well, one of the biggest sources, and it is relentless, is this modern pressure to constantly create, perform, and basically sell an identity to the world. See, the whole way we think about who we are has completely changed. In the past, you were kind of born into an identity. Your family, your hometown, what you did for a living, that was your starting point. But today, it feels like you've been handed this endless, exhausting project of manufacturing an identity completely from scratch. And how do we do that? You know the drill. We do it through what we buy, through the pictures we post, through how we look and how interesting we can make our lives seem online. We're not just living our lives anymore. It feels like we're constantly producing them for an audience. And this leads to a pretty terrifying question. When the screen goes dark, when the likes aren't coming in, when there's nobody to perform for, who's left? If you feel like your value comes from being seen, you're always going to feel a little worthless when you're alone. Now, this pressure to perform connects directly to the second big driver of modern anxiety, something we can call the flexibility trap. It's our culture's deep, deep fear of commitment. Our liquid lives train us to see flexibility as the ultimate prize because settling down feels like a trap, so we keep our options open, always on the lookout for the next best thing. But that constant state of readiness, it doesn't lead to freedom. It starts out as flexibility, but it slowly curdles into instability. That instability creates this chronic restlessness, and eventually that restlessness just leads to a kind of emotional detachment from everything. The result is this huge paradox. With your phone, you can be anywhere, talk to anyone, see anything. In a way, you're everywhere. But because you never really put down deep roots anywhere, you belong nowhere. So, if that's the mess we're in, what's the way out? Well, this is where we have to flip the logic of the modern world on its head. The answer isn't more speed, more options, or more flexibility. It's actually the exact opposite. In a world that is obsessed with constant change, choosing to commit is a truly radical act. In a culture that celebrates what's new and shiny, choosing to stay, whether it's with a person, in a city, or on a long-term project, that becomes a quiet but profound source of power. And this isn't some abstract philosophical idea. You build this solid ground in really practical ways. You build daily routines that anchor you. You invest real time and energy into deep, long-term relationships instead of just collecting shallow connections. You dedicate yourself to learning a skill that takes years of focus to really master. And why does this work? Because these things aren't easy. They're not instant. They demand patience, loyalty, and your full presence. But in return, they give your mind the very thing our liquid world is designed to wash away, a sense of solid ground to stand on. So what this all comes down to is a fundamental choice, a choice that each of us has to make pretty much every single day. Look, the default current of our world wants to keep you restless. It wants you constantly comparing yourself to others, endlessly scrolling, and always consuming the next thing. That's the easy path. The real rebellion, the path to a calmer mind, is to consciously choose the opposite. To be stable, to be grounded, to be focused, and to be committed.
And let's be real, there's a powerful reason the system wants you adrift. Because people who are genuinely stable and grounded, they don't have that constant nagging need to buy new products to fix their fragile sense of self. They don't need to purchase a new identity every season.
And so this is the question we're left with. That current is always going to be there, pulling you toward a life of temporary things. The only choice you really have is whether you're going to let it take you. Will you just keep drifting along the surface, or will you decide deliberately to build something solid, something that holds?